We are going to start with the New Orleans Saints. Now, the NFC South to win the Super Bowl is at plus 550, and I find that very intriguing as well. Saints wins team total at 10.5, juice to the under. Division minus 180, conference plus 400, Super Bowl plus 800. Team total sacks, most team total sacks plus 900. Finished with the best record plus 800. Drew Brees, most passing TDs plus 1,200. Is Drew Brees going to play like a 40-year-old Tom Brady or a 40-year-old Peyton Manning? Is this his last year? Michael Thomas is a beast. Does Ted Ginn still have it at 34 years old? Latavius Murray comes in to back up Kamara. Last year's number 14 pick, Marcus Davenport, was slowed by that toe injury all year. How good can he be? Then you have Sheldon Rankins, who tore his Achilles in the divisional round win over the Eagles. Could be sidelined for up to 10 months. He may not be ready to the latter half of 2019. Can Marshawn Lattimore be better than he was in 2018? Defensive Rookie of the Year in 2017. You know, I'm not as high on the Saints as a lot of others, and I think this division is up for grabs. Donnie Rightside, the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, I mean, I have the Saints still in that top shelf, number one in the NFC South. And the reason being is they have a lot of things going right. Continuity there has been there a long time. Sean Payton's a great head coach. You're looking at their defense finally coming on strong. They have the components that you like, Jimmy, on defense, which we used to knock them all the time. It wasn't so far as well. After the last two seasons, 7 wins, and then kicked it up to 11 and 13. But the one thing, as I said, I do like, you still have Drew Brees there. And you're right. Sooner or later, Father Time is just going to step in and say, you know what, enough of this. But when you play at home and you have such a distinct advantage for 8 home games, and then if you make it into the playoffs, you know how you knock the Saints out? You need a ridiculous call to go against them in order for them to get knocked out and not make the Super Bowl. Because if we probably could roll reverse here, that call gets made, the Saints move on, we're probably talking about them as the Super Bowl champion. So I do think there's some nice odds there on 10-1 to win the Super Bowl. But for value on the NFC South, minus 170, minus 160 in order for a division winner, there's a lot of things that are going to go against the Saints this year. If we take a look and say, you know what, take away the talent. We know their offense is good. We know their defense should be able to get to the quarterback, and it's improving there. But when you get a first-place defense, unlike the NBA, or first-place schedule, it's going to bite you. They're talking about road games on the road out of division, Jimmy, at the Rams, at the Seahawks, at the Bears. First 4 teams out of the gate, all playoff teams. So I like when Whale Capper talks about, getting that marketability. Maybe you see some value. If the Saints go 2-2 in those first 4 games, and maybe the schedule eases up a little bit, that could help. But it's not going to help them after those first 4 games. And let's also take a look here. Huge loss, Max Unger retiring, and you get a new center in there. When you have the quarterback of the offense being Drew Brees, the quarterback of the offensive line, that changes. That might throw an interesting dynamic. But I like the Saints overall. I still think they're the top dog here in this division.
They're a dangerous squad, and hearing how high you guys are on them will lead me towards possibly taking the NFC South to win the Super Bowl at plus 550. Whale Capper, the New Orleans Saints.
I'm not actually kind of buying them as a true Super Bowl contender here. I think, and I agree with kind of all the points Donnie made. And sure enough, over the last couple seasons, they've been more or less in the mold of Patriots NFC. They got the older quarterback. They've got pieces all around him who are talented. They're developing players well on defense and the offensive line. 2 years ago, their draft was absolutely spectacular. They hit great, home runs on almost all of their top tier picks in that draft. And those guys are entering their 3rd year, and they should be legitimate contributors to a good, talented NFL team. Problem is, Drew Brees will play. He won't play like a 40-year-old Peyton Manning. He won't play like a 40-year-old Tom Brady. He'll play like a 40-year-old Drew Brees. And what we've seen is Sean Payton has had an extra load on his shoulders to manage Drew Brees' passing attempt distribution across the season, where he doesn't want to burn him out early. He wants to keep his arm fresh for later in the season. And only when kind of the going gets tough does you really rely on him in the passing game, in regular season, matchups. And it's going to be interesting to watch what his approach is for how he keeps Drew Brees' arm fresh, because Drew Brees' arm has gotten tired now 2 years in a row. And, we said, you look back at their last 2 seasons, they absolutely could have won the Super Bowl last year. They absolutely could have won it the year before. They were the Minneapolis Miracle away from the NFC title game. They were a correct correct pass interference call away from the Super Bowl last year. Like they have been knocking on the door, and you would think that they are right there, right there for the taking. The problem is their schedule this year out of the gate is extremely tough. Their schedule overall is tough. Donnie nailed it. He said 2-2 could be the first 4 games. Well, the problem is this team likes to warm up into the regular season. They don't come out give you their best and their hottest shot out of the gate. It takes them a couple weeks to kind of warm into what's working for them before they really are dynamic on offense. That if they have that approach this year, we could be talking about 0-4 out of the gate. Like, this looks tough. We remember last year they had 8-point favorites week 1 against Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They put up a stinker. If they put up a stinker against the Texans in week 1 this year, I think they're staring at 0-4. So it's that would be the right time to buy on them to come back and pull off a miracle comeback to win the NFC South. But if they're not hosting home games in the playoffs, I don't think that this team really has a realistic shot, especially when you consider the likes of the Eagles potentially getting a number 1 overall pick. If you have to take Drew Brees end of January, send him to Philadelphia and play in the cold in that crowd, I don't love their chances in that spot. So I'm a little bit cool on the Saints being an actual title contender.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our channel. Now, we've put a lot of work into producing all these free videos, so please help us out and keep all our content free for you forever by simply liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Now, not to mention, a visit to our industry-leading website will warm the hearts of all our SBR employees, especially myself. Now, the links are over there to the left, so do check those out. Thanks for watching.